All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining today for Modular Railing Systems, a CEU approved event with VIVA Railings. We're super excited to bring you guys this presentation today. My name is Bo, I'm from Acelab, and I'm helping out with hosting today's event. We're gonna do a quick little introduction about Acelab, show you how to get in touch with today's course presenters on the platform. So if you have any follow-up questions that come up after today's event, or you wanna connect about some project questions, it's a really easy way to do that. So we'll go ahead and hand it off to my colleague, Helen, our Director of Architectural Experience, to give that quick little intro, and then we'll go ahead and get started with today's CEU approved course.
Awesome. Thank you, Bo. Hi, everyone. I'm Helen. As Bo said, I am the Director of Architect Experience here. And what that means is that I want to make sure you have a great time using our site. And it looks like my screen share. There it is. All right. So I'm going to take y'all through a couple things, talk a little bit about Acelab, and also how to find the wonderful folks here at Viva. So I want to start off today really quickly with how y'all can search for different products in Acelab. So you can come up here, and I'm going to be in the railings, fences, gates, and screens today. So jumping in here, I'm going to say I'm looking for a glass railing for my project, which I know these folks at Viva have. You'll select which project you're on. If you want to learn more about setting up projects and collaborating through there, you can come and have a session with me. This is an important step here. We have a bunch of amazing folks that you don't see behind the scenes that will help you out with your project and give you a great recommendation. I'll pull up an example here in a moment. So if at any point y'all are looking for something, you can't find it, you can always come hit this button. You can also live chat us. Myself and another teammate will respond to you there and make sure you get what you need for your project. I'm going to go ahead and skip and show results in this case. And this is what you'd see. You'd see, a bunch of different railings from a bunch of different folks that meet your requirements. As an example of the kind of help we can give you, I wanted to pull up some of our kind of more recent things that we've helped folks out with. My favorite one here is talking about someone reaching out for aluminum windows, and they needed to meet a certain solar heat gain coefficient, and our team was able to put together some recommendations for them.
It looks like some folks can't see your screen and are seeing Connie's. I had switched it over, but I guess it didn't work.
Let me try. Sorry, folks.
Good. Connie, if you wouldn't mind just pausing your screen share, if you click stop share at the bottom.
Let's see. Now mine says it's loading. Well, it's not a very fun presentation without some visuals, especially for architects. Can you see this now? Is it working?
Let's see. If you can let us know in the Q&A if you're able to see Helen's, that would be awesome. Not yet. All right. Connie, did you see where to end your screen share? That's there we go. Okay. Now Helen, start. I think we should be set. Thank you guys for letting us know that.
Sorry about that, folks.
All right.
Let's see. Looking good now?
Looking good now.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry you missed that quiz, but you're here for the most important part, which will be how to find these folks and ask them questions. Just scrolling really quickly since y'all couldn't see, this is what we put together for that group looking for a solar heat gain coefficient. So a nice little comparison of some different products that they could explore there. Jumping back into the main platform, if you need to get in touch with Viva, you have questions about their products, you can type in their name here, make sure brands is selected, and this will take you to their page where you're going to see all of their products. So they have railings, but they also have some other really great stuff. And so this is where y'all can come explore their products. You can save them into your projects. And last but not least, you can also contact them, and that'll create a conversation for you up here. And you can ask for anything you want, and they'll make sure they help you out quickly. All right, I'll pass it back over. And thanks for letting me know about the screen share.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And thank you so much, Helen, for that quick little demo. Since we did miss the search portion, please feel free to reach out to Helen if you want a quick little tour after today's event. I'll go ahead and launch a quick poll so you can let us know if you have some interest in getting an Acelab demo after today. All right, Connie, feel free to take over the screen share again whenever you're ready. And just a few quick housekeeping items from me. So we did ask for AIA numbers upon registration. I will also send over a form in the chat where you can submit your AIA number there, just in case you're worried you didn't include it. Other than that, please feel free to submit any questions to the Q&A throughout today's presentation. We'll have some time to get to those live at the end of today's event. And if we aren't able to get to your question, we will have a record of it so that it can be followed up with after the end of the webinar. All right. with that, I would love to pass it off to Connie. Thank you so much for presenting today. And then we also have Brianna on board today. She was our planned presenter, but has lost her voice. So we appreciate Connie stepping in. And then we also have Huzefa, who is the president of VIVA Railings. So we've got a really great team today here from VIVA, here to answer any of the questions that you might have. All right. Thank you so much, Connie. Feel free to take it away whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. My name is Connie Quimby, a recent marriage, so you may see some crossover, Connie, not Quimby. I have been in the handrailing world for a little over 30 years. And I am come from a background of handrailing parts and pieces. I understand a lot about the handrailing world. I'm not going to say that I know everything about handrailing, but I know people who do. So today we're going to cover going over benefits of modern or modular railing systems, common applications. I'm going to talk a little bit about how the codes have evolved over time. Of course, some materials, specs, benefits of turnkey products, and touch base on railing system designs and lead. So on our application of guardrails and handrails, this is a nice photo collage. If you look at that picture on the left, we can see that we have a glass railing, or glass guard, I should say, which is coming down the stairs. Guards are meant to prevent a catastrophic event, where a handrail is more geared towards graspability. Think of a need for a handrail with a stair when you raise your foot 2 times or more. Handrailing screens can be used for traffic control, space planning. We see on the third slide down social stairs. That's something where it's a seating area versus true traffic. And we see social stairs in schools, K-12. I've actually seen them a lot now in corporate centers, and that can be used as a multi-use space. A recent school I visited had social stairs hollowed out. It was a library, it was a meeting room, it was the grand entrance. So definitely evolving into our design space. And I like the bottom slide just to do a quick mention of mezzanine applications with OSHA requirements. This shows something where a kick plate is involved, and that is an OSHA requirement to prevent tools from falling over the side. Codes back in the day, back in the 1900s, let's say, we had all kinds of codes. We had BOCA down in the south. We had ANSI standards, which was for those with disabilities. NFPA 5000 was trying to come out with their own code. And these were all books, which were published, very expensive, lots to look up and keep up with, not easy to search. And the ICC was adopted by the state of California. We were all kind of waiting to see if they would adopt that code, if they'd pick up the NFPA, which they did not. So California, IBC for international commercial applications, and then IRC for residential is typically the codes you're trying to meet. Of course, codes are not written by local jurisdictions, they are adopted. So know your jurisdiction and what code you're trying to meet. For the handrailing world, we had a big change in 2015 on glass requirements. I'll get into that a little bit further. But we also should mention something about the ADA Act. This is not a code. It is a federal law. And when the ADA law was written back in the 90s, it picked up an incorrect dimension, which was 1.5 inches absolute requirement from the inside of the handrailing to the wall. So imagine an airport with all those curves, bends, walls, keeping that 1.5 inches absolutely through the handrailing world on its side. Tooling was out there for 2.5 and 3-inch centerline from the handrail distance to the wall, center of the tubing to the wall. No brackets were out there. We were selling bar bends, making custom brackets to try and meet this 1.5 inches absolute. We contacted the government and said, hey, this is wrong. This is not the correct code dimension for handrail itself. And they said, oh yeah, you're right. We picked it up out of the ANSI standard, which is more of a grab bar dimension. Grab bars, think of it in a restroom, those who may be more frail or maybe a nursing home, assisted living. That 1.5 inch absolute is meant for your arm to lean on that grab rail and use your weight to get up and down. But typically that is not something we want. We asked, can't we get a letter from the government? They said, no, we're the government, can't do it. So what happened was it went through cycles of votes, took 20 years for them to correct that dimension in the IBC. And thank goodness they picked it up correctly, where it's 1.5 inches minimum from the wall, but typically it's going to be 2.5 or 3 inch, sometimes 3.5. But we were happy they were able to change that dimension in the proper way, so we all didn't have to go back and fix everything. ASTM, of course, meeting that testing material and requirements is something that any reputable handrailing system manufacturer in a modular system will definitely have that testing criteria behind them. So talking about guardrails, that catastrophic event, guards are required when there's a open drop of 30 inches or more. Understand who you're designing for. I know that little parts of Austin, Texas, a city that grew faster than typically I thought it was prepared for, they have some curbs that are about 28 inches. You know, I notice in the handrail world, is it a fall hazard? Yes, it's Austin, Texas. It's right downtown, lots of students down there, tourists, but they didn't have to meet that requirement for safety. I do believe that that is being revamped as time goes on. We consider the handrail a requirement for safety. How can you defend your design if you've only met the minimum? So consider who your end user is, who your audience is, and I may refer to kids. Kids are cool, but they definitely do some crazy things. And that leads me to that 4-inch sphere rule, which is typically going to be in any opening in a handrail. It is in consideration for a child's head. You don't want that passing through there. Also, there is an exception, which the wood industry definitely is on top of it, which would be that 6-inch circle at the bottom, meeting the rise and run of a wooden stair or stairs. But typically know your audience. If it's going to be something where you want an enclosed bottom, I know that when I watched my daughter's Yorkie, that 6-inch opening at the landing was way too much for a pet. I don't know that pets understand height. So just different things to put yourself in place and empathize with your users. 4 3/8 sphere is an exception. The code does not speak to force. So when you're designing something in the handrail world with a cable, force is not in there. Deflection is not in the code today in the United States. I know it's mentioned in Europe. But you want to have that spacing actually tighter on a cable rail system. 3.5, 3.25 inch is what we're going to recommend. Any good handrail manufacturer should, to understand, again, the force application. I know that sometimes people indicate with a cable rail system, climbability is an issue, and I will get into that a little bit further on. Handrail design is required when you lift your foot 2 times or more. ADA ramps with that 6-inch or more drop on there. Now it's a ratio of 1 in 20. So if you can stretch out your ramp far enough, I know there's a modern museum here in Dallas, that's where I'm presenting from. They have a good 100 linear feet of a ramp and rise, which does not meet the, does not need a handrail. I was trying to think, how do they do it? It is the ratio and the slope. Typically on a commercial stair, you want to be able to reach that hand railing on either side of you. It's like a short order cook. You know, I watched my mom go through her end stage life with macular degeneration, and she was able to navigate around for quite a while by just reaching for that height. It's standardized, your hand reaches for it, it's a brain hand function. Typically, handrails fall between 34 and 38 inches. I know back in the day, there was a requirement that had 28 was mentioned as well, but we're a lot better at designing elementary schools now and having those little small children is why I think that 28 inches was there to meet that requirement for elementary schools. Intermediate handrails, again, knows your user. Is it reachable within a 30-inch span? So I know I've volunteered down at the Circuit of America track in Austin, and on the time trial day, they met the code, absolutely met the code, but there are 2 bridges involved in that racetrack. That racetrack is 11 miles around. And on the time trial day, I guess they were thinking it would mostly be people in tennis shoes prepared to walk. And when helicopters started flying in, white pants, high heels, and people began to fall down the stairs. The sheriff actually shut both bridges down. People had to walk all day around that 11-mile track. Fabricator came in the middle of the night, put up a center rail down the middle of the path. It was great. They reopened the 2 bridges, which was huge benefit for race day. Nice addition to the design. Extensions, 12 inches at the top of a rail and at the 1 tread width at the bottom. However, know your jurisdiction. When that code is adopted locally, it can be more or less on the requirement. I believe in California, it still is 1 tread width plus that 12 inches. And we consider that extra extension to be going in the flow of traffic up and down the stairs. I do see them in certain parts of the country where that extension goes from side to side parallel with the sidewalk. That is not how we interpret the code. However, know your jurisdiction, know your code requirements in your local code inspector, because that's someone, I believe, in that particular area that was interpreting it a little bit different. We consider traffic up and down the stairs. Handrailing should return to the wall, to the floor, or to itself. Understanding graspability. There cannot be more than 20% obstruction within a handrail. So if you have a post with a saddle mounted and your hand would touch that saddle underneath the hand railing, that's considered obstruction. So no more than 20%. The shapes are a very complex formula. And the reason is the wood industry. You know, we've got ovals, we got square rounds, that loaf of bread shape profile. They want to keep that definitely in the code. So there is a complex formula to meet that requirement. We want to meet the code of 1.5 minimum, which I stated earlier, but with OSHA, fire safety stairs, that's a 2.25 minimum clearance from the inside of the handrail over to the wall. And my thinking is so the firefighters can run up and down the stairs and have plenty of room for their gloves to grasp the handrail. There is an exception. Typically, the handrail should not go more than 4 inches into the walking path, which would be inside to inside on the handrail is where they measure, but that 4.5 projection would typically be, I believe, for a defibrillator machine. And then we also have a fairly new in the handrail world. I believe it was around 2012, that 1.5 drop in a hand railing graspability, 1.5 from the wall. You may have a code inspector walk around with just a little 1.5 wooden block, making sure they meet it. And that was proposed by the gentleman who proposed the 4-inch sphere rule, that people were falling down the stairs because their fingers would jam. They reach for the handrail. And we try to keep the handrail coding a little bit vague for all of us in designing things. But we said, hey, this is people who can't grab the handrailing because they have things in their hands. But he was able to get that through. Structural performance. So this is a good slide showing between the 2015 to change to 2018. So 2015 requires glass handrailing to be laminated. And the reason is, I mean, it's a safety factor because when we're meeting the top of the guard, it is a concentrated load of 200 pounds times a factor of 4, which would be 4 men leaning on that. You can see that. However, that laminated glass does create the structural ability, but we will always recommend U-channel or back rail at the top of that guard on the glass for a couple of reasons. It may prevent water from seeping in on an exterior application. It will also hide a lot. We get custom requests all the time. I had one yesterday for 5-foot height on the glass. Yes, it can be done, 3/4 inch glass, but glass may bow just slightly. It's something that I know most people won't notice. Me in the handrail world, I see that. And that U-channel across the top hides a lot. It also is a great safety feature because I see it when I walk in and out of presentations with the glass doors. That glass can chip. Glass can have a nickel sulfite inclusion, which could be hit with a watch, a ring. Why take the risk? So we're going to recommend U-cap or channel, but it is not required. Oh, let's see here. I'll show a video at the end showing some glass standards for PVB on interior, SGP for exterior. Materials, stainless steel stains less. It is not rust proof. So common alloys, 304 for interior applications, 316 for exterior applications. It can be a VE option on an exterior depending upon where you're located. In Dallas, exterior patio, definitely if it's covered patio, 304 is totally suitable. But 316 is something that's a little bit more durable and resistant to rust. I know that down in the Houston area, I know of one firm that specifies 316 each and every time. They don't want any margin of error there. So it's something to think about. Of course, metal, glass, recyclable. So the percentages on there for stainless would definitely qualify for that. Higher strength to ratio. So that stainless steel definitely is very structural. It is also forgiving over time. So one spec that I see on occasion is a brushed finish non-directional. People are thinking it's going to be a savings. Any good handrail manufacturer should be getting all kinds of stainless with a brushed finish on it, brush number 6, circumferential around that handrail tubing, and it will it'll smooth itself out over time. So if you've ever visited our website or other areas, you may notice that the handrail itself is in stainless steel, not coated. We will try to talk you out of that. Powder coating, I became hyper aware during COVID, collects dirt. It can get sticky. Where stainless, it just is smoother. It is a great product for the handrail world. Mounting conditions, we see, I get questions on what's the most cost-effective way to mount a hand railing, and that would be welded to steel. We're always going to try and search for something to weld to. If it is concrete, we're looking for depth and PSI, and we will ask for some sort of embed to weld to. It's definitely the least expensive and most structurally sound. Other ways can certainly be done, but that is a question I get on occasion. Anchoring, we can see going into concrete there on that drawing on the left, which would be weakest point is always a screw. However, we recommend having angle. Bigger is better. I had a situation, visited a green room, owner of this hotel. When he stayed there, he didn't like how the glass railing deflected. It was, you know, you feel uncomfortable when things are, if you're on a 2nd story, 14th story, and things are not sound. We recommend that angle be 1/2 inch is better. You can get away with 3/8 inch. But at that hotel, we were brought in to figure out, gee, what could have happened? We were the BOD. They did not choose us. They went with another system. And when we went through the postmortem on what could be causing all of this, they used 1/4 inch angle to mount versus the thicker angle. And that could definitely allow for some deflection in play. I know in Europe, they allow 1 inch in either direction in the code. Pre-engineered systems, of course, we're going to, on a modular system, pre-engineered, no extra wait time waiting for engineering calcs. There's several different options that can be done within design on a pre-engineered system. If you look at this bottom picture right here is a good example. It's a post system, and circa for circular, but you could pick square, round. There's other applications, T-bar, blade, all different sorts of post systems. Top rail can be metal. It could also be wood. Hold open a line item for the finishing to be done by your painters or your finishing people. You want the wood and finishes to match, so it's a line item to keep open. And then you can select different variables within your infill options, which would be wire mesh, it could be glass, can be all sorts of options within it. And definitely customizable in this day and age. If you notice behind me, all sorts of shapes, lasers, we have a laser, something that can be done. Turnkey solutions, complete ownership of a project on the handrailing side with engineering, fabrication, designing, and installation. Huge benefit, we're going to own it throughout. We in-house fabrication or having vetted fabricators is something that is a variable you may not want to think about or deal with. So that pre-engineered system is something that's definitely a benefit for time. Specifications. Sometimes I wonder if architects get 20 minutes on hand railings in schools. Specifications can be all over the board. 3-part spec is out there. You want to take away from that spec and only leave the pertaining applicable requirements for that spec. I saw one the other day that was brass, it was glass, it was stainless, it was all sorts of things. And being the experts, we can definitely help you out on what pertains and what doesn't to help in design calls. I know I have Josefa on here. We'll get to that at the end. We want those specifications to match the drawings. Taking time up front creates less effort on RFIs. Understanding that the design for a mock-up is the same for a design of a handrail system. Handrails should be an early buyout, something to consider. It's worth mentioning to the GCs. If concrete is getting poured, what are we mounting to? People should have a full understanding of the mounting conditions and drawing should be done. So it's something that I try to mention. We do have master spec and other services out there. And again, removing extra words, less is more when it comes to specifications, clear instructions, trying to get them to match the drawings as much as possible. So post systems, we see stainless steel and round, square, all sorts of different options within that. And then the infill is interchangeable. So on some systems, not on everything, but typically it's unlimited design options, even though it could be a pre-engineered modular system. So here's an example of a round circular post. When I say customizable, it's pre-engineered mechanical system, but I do know of an ISD that requires everything to be welded and ground smooth. They want everything they have to be heavy duty. Middle schoolers can be a little rambunctious, let's say. So that's something to consider. Here is a square post, multi-line system. There are ways to VE some options, you know. I've had some crazy requests for 10-foot spacing on posts. Could it be done? Sure. What's your budget? Yes, it could be done. I've not heard a no at VIVA. There's definitely some compromise when budgets are involved, but it's something that, does it have to be hollow tubing? Could it be solid bar? How can we get the calcs to work? And that's a goal for us to meet your design intent. Structural glass systems. Prior to 2015, there was a requirement to have 3 panes of glass with a top rail on it. Today, 2018 code indicates that lamination. Shoe is something that's a very creative option. You can have the shoe mounted along the stringer. It could also be hidden. This could be covered up with a wood floor in your placement. It looks like it's actually disappearing into the floor. So that's a base shoe system. Can be dry mounted or wet set. Typically dry mounted in today's world, that changed, I want to say in about 2008. It's the way to go to prevent actually moisture getting in that wet set option and possibly seeping up in that laminated glass. Standoffs is another option for mounting conditions on glass. I hear them called spiders or buttons. Engineering calcs can be done based on the number of standoffs you may have or number of brackets you may have for reinforcement. I know that standard offering in modular system in our particular design can go 6 or 8 feet with these heavy duty stainless steel brackets we can mount. Formed panels. So this rendering on the left is a formed panel. We call it actually a fold. Continuous improvement is something that I know VIVA does and other manufacturers do. We're always trying to do continuous improvement. So go through the current websites that are out there, product data is out there, and you should be able to see design information and the latest and greatest on there. The beauty of these two systems are you can actually have this post goes high. Well, we'll help you with that, but this post is almost invisible depending on what you can do with the mounting conditions. You can powder coat it, it appears hidden. I know on the structural panel system, struck would be the meeting the guardrail requirement on there. It is the structural piece of it. VE options are out there. I know I had a design where they wanted this panel to come down 9 feet from the second floor up from the floor, meeting it from the ground up to make it appear like a metal wall. Could it be done? Again, budget. What can we do? So maybe in the grand staircase, they have something like that, but it wasn't something in the budget for the entire design. We actually raised the panels to meet that cane rail detection. And we were able to VE and meet the budget and still get the wow effect on the first impact when they walk in the building. LED railings, they've been around again since about 2008. LEDs can be continuous in color, or it could be a pod. So depending upon the desired effect, you want a scallop look or continuous light, where maybe you're trying to meet lighting on the egress. If the photometrics don't work out from the ceiling, gee, can it work from the LED handrail? Lots of possibilities there. It can come from the bottom, it can come from the top. We can work all sorts of designs in that pre-modular system. Hand railings aren't always straight. Back in the day, they came out with straight lighting, but then they discovered the need for pods. So if you have a radius curve on a hand railing, that may be where those pods come into play, depending upon how tight that radius is. Orientation of the light. Think about, are you trying to light a specific walking path, or are you on a mezzanine? Do you want that light asymmetrical so it doesn't go down to the first story with light hit people in the eye when they're walking underneath? So there's possibilities there. Your lens can be typically going to be opaque or clear. And then understand that the ETL certification is on the entire handrail system. A lot of work goes into that to make sure we have the proper attachments, that people don't get electrocuted. Electricians don't understand how to build a hand railing and fabricate that, where hand railing manufacturers do. We're going to manufacture that handrail and leave the tails up and provide drivers and junction boxes, but we expect an electrician to hook it up from there. So one other line item to hold open on various designs. Glass can be monolithic, of course, laminated, that PVB, polyvinyl butyrol, or SGP exterior, depending upon wind loads, things like that. That's something that can be calculated to meet the very most demanding ICC code regulations for that Miami-Dade County. So that SGP is something that is definitely required on exterior. Clear glass actually will have a slight green tinge to it. If you look at the edges of the glass, you can see that green layer like in a shower door. But clear or low iron glass is considered museum grade. It actually has a white interlayer, and depending upon what you're going for, it's not something that's always required. So that is another option I see if somebody has it in their specs that they want low iron glass. Gee, is it something that people are going to notice? Are you going to get your bang for your buck? So something to consider. Ceramic frit is something we see out there in hand railing as well. Think of a bus. So when you see these buses with advertising on the windows, you can see that advertising, and yet the people can still see out of the bus. So that's something I've seen used in auditorium applications or meeting lighting on the egress with the glass system, not letting that light go through for various reasons. Infill options. I know that there's all kinds of options out there. Most popular is our center design right here. I have known of a job, endless budget. They did the infill option in mesh with bronze and stainless, not your average. This is enclosed in a frame typically. It's not that inexpensive U channel, which I've heard that I had an architect at presentation share. After 5 years, that water just collected in that U channel and it rusted out. So going for a heavy duty system, very clean corners is something that's can be desirable within the design. Perforated metal options. This is something that you call out with a negative space. What are you imagining? You're going to see people through this. So calling out a negative space on that perforated panel, and then being that lasers are out there, water jets are out there, all sorts of different options can lead to different products, but the design can be limitless. You know, we all can share a file and get the desired look you're looking for. Finishes. So typically, industry standard, there is a difference between pipe and tube. I want to mention that. 1.5" OD tubing is the industry standard. Number 6 satin finish. Think of that finish on your refrigerator. And it's forgiving, of course. Number 8 mirror is attainable, but we're going to try and talk you out of that. Reason being, 5 years, you won't be happy with it unless you have a low traffic area. But that number 8 mirror finish shows every single fingerprint, scratches, needs to be maintained a little bit more. So number 6 satin is typically industry standard. Powder coating is something that is recommended. I know for a while there, gold was super popular. And we would see a requirement, hey, can I get this in brass? Well, yes. Note at your next post office, brass is just not brass. They have yellow brass, red brass, Muntz metal, bronze. And then the welding rods may be a different alloy than what the extruded brass or bronze might be. You're going to see every single little mark. And then two, it will show fingerprints from the natural oil from your hands. Dirt will collect on there. You could definitely clear coat a brass or bronze handrail, but again, it's maintenance. You're going to have to fix all the scratches. So we're going to push you towards powder coating when it comes to brass and bronze requirements, because it really doesn't match. It's almost a science. I do want to show you a video. And this is on glass. Tempered was in the handrail code prior to 2015. Let's see if I can get this to play from here. Here we go. So this very first panel is tempered glass, which is supposed to break into a cajillion teeny tiny little small pieces. When a piece of metal hits it, you tighten your oven door too tight, yes, 10,000 shards of glass. But you notice that very large panel falling, when there have been incidences, that can create a cascading effect. I know we had, not us personally, but the W Hotel down in Austin had an occurrence, and that glass kept hitting and shattering glass all the way down. 2015, now lamination is required. This is PVB, polyvinyl butyrol. Actually was tested back in the day in the 80s when I worked at the car rental industry, DFW Airport. You could put your fingernail into a windshield. It was brought out for the car market. You would leave an indent and it would return. It was almost a soft type of application. So here we see it comes down like wet spaghetti. In theory, a U channel at the top or cap rail should be able to keep that in place. A human is going to grab that top rail and save themselves. I talk about it every day. I'm sure I will be going in that slow motion effect and grab it. But SGP was a Century Glass Plus product back in the day. They sold the royalties. So now it is called SGP, which is a rigid interlink, heavy duty. If you're not sure wind loads or what's happening with the weather on the exterior, SGP definitely the way to go. This is our website right here. I guess I talked a little bit fast. Are there questions that I could answer? And then I'll go through our website a bit.
Yes, that sounds great. There are questions, and then yeah, a quick tour of your website would be awesome.
Okay.
All right. Starting off at the top from Javier, are there any changes on the 2017 ICC ANSI 117.1?
Great question. I am going to refer to why we love the state of California. Freedom of Information Act. You can go to Google, type in state of California, type in that requirement and the year, and the paragraph will pop up on there. And if there is a change, I am not the expert on that piece of it. I can look into it, but that's where I'm going to go and get back to you. Mm-hmm.
All right. And then from Henry, there are 12-inch minimum extensions not recommended to turn perpendicular to stair runs like around corners?
It's debatable. So turning around the corner, a 12-inch extension, if you have a flow of traffic and you're using it in your design, know that if you call it that handrail, you could be challenged because it isn't necessarily meeting the code, saying it goes up and down. But if you're able to argue your design for safety, it's debatable. I know that a 12-inch extension into a walking path today with cell phones, you could catch a purse on it, doesn't make logical sense. If you do have something like that where maybe you could put up something else there, you could call it ornamental landscaping, but know that if you call it a handrail, you're going to have to meet the handrail code.
Mm-hmm.
The code allows to turn the rail towards the wall, or if there's a perpendicular rail in the direction, you can wrap the rail around that, and with that, you do not need an extension.
All right, awesome. This one looks like kind of maybe the same question. So lighting in rails tends to fail piecemeal. How do you handle maintenance of lighted rails?
Knock on wood. We've been pretty fortunate that way. I know that that piecemeal lighting can fail depending upon what the electrician has done on the connection. The gauge of the wire should be the same. So when I've seen failures, it's where the electrician piecemealed and used various gauges. Maintenance. Huzefa, did you want to speak? I've been with Viva a little over 2 years, and we haven't had a failure that I've been involved with. Typically, they're going to run about 50 to 80,000 hours. 5 years is an average. That's industry standard, but they run longer. You're not running your lights typically 24 hours a day. Huzefa?
Yeah, no, like you said, Connie, I have not come across any calls or requests of lights not working. The typical life cycle, considering the usage time, we're talking about 15 plus years. And even if you needed to replace or do something, you can pop off the lens, replace a section of light, or if it's a pod, those pods are replaceable.
Okay, awesome. Looks like that was it for questions now, but I do want to mention to folks, if there are any other questions, please feel free to submit them. And you can also raise your hand. So if you have like a long-winded question or something that feels easier to ask out loud, you don't have to turn your video on, but if you feel like raising your hand, please feel free to do so. I'll unmute you and you can ask that question out loud. But now, Connie, I know you mentioned you wanted to do a quick tour of the Viva website. So that would be a great time to do that now if you would like.
Okay. And one thing I want to mention that fail early to fail safe. So no one likes having to do the same work over and over. I know that, of course, I'm having technical difficulties. I apologize. I get Huzefa on a design call, or I take the design call, depending upon what it is. In order to talk about those mounting conditions, what's your design intent, so we have a full understanding. We are available to you for that. I hop on a Teams call, and the reason why, Huzefa, here's my secret. I like to involve you right away. It cuts through red tape. Gee, we could do it this way, that way. Let's save some time way early up front. Okay, and there we go. So we're located in Lewisville, Texas. Yeah.
Connie, still the slide is showing. Are you trying to show the website?
Yeah, let me stop and start again.
Usually easiest.
Can we see that? Who
Yep.
we do, what we are.
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
So typically we are hand railings and also sun control. Metal railing systems, stair wraps are something that is gaining in popularity, as well as metal ceiling panels, all sorts of different things in metal. Typically, we're not going to be your back of the house steel handrail or stainless. There you go. Glass railing systems. This bottom slide is actually PGA headquarters. This actually has a blackened finish at the shoe. Wood railing on there, U channel, which is blackened. Hidden shoe mounting details. I call it the hand railing dream. So many options out there for glass design, things like that in mounting. Here's an example. You may have a space constraint or design for a fascia mount on there. Something that can definitely be done. Cable railing, people have been, here's an example. where it is black on the posts, stainless steel cables, and then that handrail is stainless steel again. Struck panel system coming down, covering that stringer. And I believe the design intent on here was to see the people and create a connection through there, depending upon the whole spacing. Within our website, we have all kinds of product details that can be shared and seen. So let's go ahead and go to the struct system. Go through, I'll go there later. Huh. I messed up there, I apologize, but let's go ahead and go to our website. Give me a minute. And when we go to products, we can see various options there. Typically, handrails are going to be metal or glass, and then there is an added feature of lit railing on top of the design you choose. Metal spaces is on our website as well. And we're very consistent as far as product details go. So when I'm looking for a handrail system, circa laser cut metal panel railing system, a little rendering for reference. We can look at our product data from here. It tells you all the requirements on there and limitations. Of course, when you click at our website and you click on the individual, we will be the people answering the phone, the BDMs. We know what's common in our region or state, and we're going to try and lead you to the proper choices. So here it's showing us laser cut. It's also available in cable net, cable, glass. So it's one railing system with several different options. So think of it like a hamburger. The post would be your pretzel bun or your regular bun, and then your infill is your choice of selection, what type of meat, are you going with a mushroom in the middle? All kinds of options there. So think of it like a restaurant selection option. You can see spacing on posts, 5 foot max. Typically all handrails 4 foot to 4'6". We've had custom designs where they wanted it to be 10 feet apart. Could it be done? Yes, very expensive. Budget doesn't allow for it. What can we do? That is a design phone call where, man, 5 foot spacing. Yes, that could be done. Is it a standard system? Maybe not. Could we go with various options to meet those engineering calcs? VIVA can run those calcs, tell you what will work, and we're still going to meet your design intent. Somebody said, do you offer custom railings? Absolutely, we do. Every railing is custom. Walls are not square anymore. Concrete isn't always level, so it's something that we are perfectionists about, understanding drawings, measurements, field measuring, and owning the product all the way through. Let's go over to metal spaces a minute. So metal spaces, I have a server error. Let's see what I can do here. Josefa, did you want to try and take over?
What would you like?
I just wanted to walk through metal spaces a little bit.
Sure.
Cool.
Okay, where is their share screen? Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So if you're on the home page, metal spaces is tile number 4, and here you will find the different subcategories under metal spaces: wall systems, fence and landscape, sun control systems, ceilings, and then these are just loose panels. Similar to the rest of the product, it's organized in a similar fashion. Basically, in wall systems, we are talking about interior, exterior facades, including the subcategory of photo facade, wherein we can create images on these screens using perforations of different sizes and spacings. Like this image over here was created using perforations. So you can see Mona Lisa, or whatever you want, it can be done. Interior systems can be done in lobbies. Exterior garage screens is a common application. Typical materials used are aluminum and steel. Fence and landscape screens, again, fancy dumpster screens to landscape structures, that can all be done in the metal spaces category. Sun control systems, we have different options in sun control, which is all available in our product data. So different types of brow type versus a wing type, sunshade. And then we have vertical fins, box shade type, or an L-shaped, and so on. Really quick, any of these products can be marked as favorites. You just need to do a very simple registration. And then there is also an option available on our website, similar to Pinterest. You can create a board for yourself. I'll just quickly go through it. So you can mark anything favorite, and then you can save it in your board. So if I were to go to my Viva, I can save various boards. So we were in a meeting with a company called Parkway or Beck Group, and here we have saved a couple of projects for Beck Group or for Corgan Architects. You can save products, projects, data, anything you want, you can save it there, and then you can share it with your team. So you put your team members' information and they can share it. They will get a login request, and you will be able to then maintain your projects over here on our website by selecting, cherry picking things that you want across the website. So yeah, Connie, back to you.
Well, I think that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Well, it looks like we are just right about at time, so great timing. Thank you so much for going through some more of your product offerings. It's always great when we have a little bit of extra time at the end of a CEU to talk through some more specifics. So really appreciate that. And thank you, Connie, for an amazing educational presentation. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone in the audience did today. So I just want to thank everyone who attended today. We really appreciate you coming out and for your engagement and questions. There will be a quick survey after today's event when we leave. So if you have any additional questions that, come to you, feel free to enter them there. Super helpful if you can let us know on that survey, how much you enjoyed this event today, and, if there are any follow-up questions that we can help you out with. All right. Well, thank you, Connie. Thank you, Brianna. And thank you, Josefa, so much for joining. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their Wednesday.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Bye.